Let's get into some shite. Hi all, welcome to Apocalyptic. I am Rick. I'm going to be here with you for just a few minutes, and we'll be talking about, I don't know, whatever we want to talk about, right? Well, how are you doing in 2023? Are you still writing the old date on your checks? Are you still using checks? Does anyone still use checks? I always just use a card. I never carry cash. I think if I was a, what do they call them now? A beggar. Is that okay? If I was a beggar, I think I would carry the little Square app with me, because so many people have asked me for money when I've been walking around. And I'm like, I don't have any cash. But if I had a way to swipe my card, maybe they'd make a little bit, maybe more. I don't know. So what'd you do on your New Year? Were you safe? Were you okay? Did you drink too much? Did you eat too much? I don't think I did any of that. Maybe ate too much. My traditional New Year's Eve thing is to make big giant sandwiches, and God, they were good, really, really good. And I didn't have too many of them. But one of the things I discovered is, as you get older, which we all are, as you get older, for me anyway, I can eat less. I don't care. I feel like I got a bigger stomach. I mean, I do. But why? How come I can't eat as much as I could when I was a kid? I could eat like 5 sandwiches, giants, and an entire pizza. I could go to a buffet and just like 5, 6, 7, 8 platefuls. I can barely make it through one now, and I'm bloated, and I for 2 days I can't sleep. It just hurts. So I guess that's kind of what I did. It wasn't too bad though. It was really good. My wife and I went to we spent our New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and the next day at a little cabin up in North Georgia. If you've never been up there around the Blue Ridge Mountains, it's awesome. Blue Ridge Mountains, yeah, awesome. I can't remember the city we were in, but we've done that several times so far. And we always love the cabins, but this one was really cool. The location was awesome, great. A little more secluded, I think, than some of the past ones that we've been in. We almost always go to a little North Georgia winery when we're up there. We didn't do that this year. We brought our own wine. But there's a lot to do up there. The first ones we stayed at were just a little, not too far from a nudist camp. We did not visit the nudist camp, and on New Year's Eve, I don't know who's doing that. Certainly not outdoor activities, I wouldn't think. If I'm going to join a nudist camp, I'm not doing outdoors in the winter. I'll tell you that right now. I need all the help I could get. Winter's not a big help when you're naked and 60. But yeah, we had a good time. So I had decided, this is one of my favorite things to get to the cabin. So I decided what I was going to do. I was going to bring in the new year in the hot tub. So I've done that so many times. I actually did that one year when there was about, 7 inches of snow everywhere, when there was a little rail around the hot tub, and we would put our beer in the pile of snow around the rail so that it would stay cold, ice cold. We were just so hot in the hot tub. It was awesome. Steam everywhere. That was a great memory. So it wasn't that cold this year on New Year's Eve. But I decided I was going to just stay several hours in the hot tub and probably not get out of the hot tub the entire time on the trip. That's what I was thinking. So we got there, we unpacked, and I'm like, all right, this is the time. I'm ready for the hot tub, and I'm just going to stay. So I don't even think I brought swim trunks. I was going the Monty. I was going to just stay in there. Why bring clothes if you're not going to get out? and the nudist camp down the street. They don't care. They've seen it all. So I was ready to go, ready to start my journey, and went outside and couldn't find the hot tub. It turns out the cabin didn't have a hot tub. Talk about disappointment. I was ready to leave, but I don't know. Acceptance made its way into my life, and I just said, all right, nothing I can do about it. That's not what I had planned, but I just got to adapt, right? You just got to go think of something else to do. So no hot tub the entire time. I mean, that was a hard one to accept, but we just did other things. We brought it in other ways, brought the new year in other ways, and just, we made it. We had a good time. It was fun. One of the things we did when I was there is we watched the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And I think I could say it's the worst movie ever made. Now, there are a lot of movies that are made, just period, a lot of movies. And not all of them, I mean, anybody can make a movie. So it's hard to say the worst movie ever made, because since everybody can make a movie, there's going to be some really, 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 really bad movies out there. But I have to say, this one was one you could watch on television. And so that kind of puts it in a different category. This is not, I don't know. I suspect that it might have started out as a student film. I don't know that. But anyway, and you can watch it too, if you dare. See, I've seen, I think Hollywood generally says Ed Wood was the worst director ever, made the worst movies ever. This one beats. This one makes Ed Wood look like Spielberg. I mean, this one easily beats anything Ed Wood did. The movie's called Birdemic. Birdemic. Shock and terror. So look it up. You think in your head, oh, okay, it's just a bad movie. I can watch. No, this is a totally different scale. This is a different planet of bad. It's terrible. And I love bad movies. It's kind of a passion of mine to watch really bad movies. I almost could not make it through this movie. Everything. There's scenes that aren't even in focus. You're watching the movie and it's like, there's just a few things that you need to do, and one of them is make it so we can watch it. How about focus the scene? People talking and traffic going by, and you couldn't hear a word they said. The sound was horrible. Just cuts, edits didn't make sense. It's classic as far as bad movies is concerned. And now we did a little research, and I think it's like this cult favorite. People watch it. They were going to do a sequel. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad they didn't do that. But anyway, if you could get through it, it's worth trying. I haven't laughed so hard at a movie in quite a while, and I don't even think we were supposed to. I do. I kind of feel like maybe the director had to know that it was bad. The quote, special effects are the worst I've ever seen. Seriously, the worst. So give it a shot. See what you think. I will tell you now. I don't know, if you have cable or whatever, but there's an app called Tubi, Tubi, that you can get free movies and free TV on. Download it, and I think most cable systems have it somewhere on your app station, and you can find it there. Just type in Birdemic, Birdemic, and you might even be able to watch it on YouTube or something. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, if you can't watch the whole thing, watch a few scenes. Just do it. Trust me. All right. I'm getting ready this weekend. I'm going to be doing a meditation session for creatives. And it's a session to help artists and creative people to learn to connect or enhance their abilities, their creative abilities, by using meditation. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. It'll be the first time I've ever done a session like that. We'll see how that goes. But I wanted to talk a little bit about creativity here because it's a new year, and I think a lot of people might be looking at new ways of connecting to their own creativity and using creativity in their daily lives, right? Even if you don't have that on your list of things that you're planning on doing, it's something we can all use. We can all utilize that, right? We can all, even in our jobs, I don't care what your job is, there's a certain amount of creativity that you can add to what you do that would make it better, your job better. Now, not all jobs need creativity, and not all jobs have room for a lot of creativity. The more creative you are, the less functional you might be in your job. But I think that's very rare. And I think most people, even if you're a doctor or you are a lineman, line woman, line person, if you work in sanitation, if you are a veterinarian or whatever, there are certain things that you could do more creative. And even if it's not in your actual job or the actions, just in thinking more creatively, you can be more functional, more effective. So just being able to think in ways outside of the box or outside of the way that you always think or always have thought. So I think it's a good goal for us all to try to be more creative and put that more into our lives. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how to be more creative. And I have a technique. I'm going to reveal to you my own technique. And it's not just mine, because I think it's what all creatives use. But I'm going to tell you what I do to be more creative. But first, I have some facts, science-based facts about the creative mind. Now, I will admit I got these online, and I don't agree with all of them. I'll tell you which ones I don't agree with. Some of them I do, some of them I might add to. But the first one is sleep is beneficial for creative thought, and I think that's probably true. Sleep is beneficial for everything. Creative types tend to be naturally motivated or naturally motivated. I'm not so sure about that one. All right. Conformity kills creativity, and that's kind of true. If you're doing things the same way all the time, I think it does stifle creativity. And one of the steps to become more creative is to do something different. And in fact, I will, at times, when I am lacking creativity, I need to do something in my job, in art, I will purposely try to do something different in my life. And a lot of times I'll just go to an antique market, because just going there and walking around, you never know what you're going to see. You never know what experience you're going to have, and it opens you up. So it's a good way to kind of get rid of the conformity. And other ways, just anything, just do something different. It'll open you up. And that's the next thing. Openness is key to creative activity. That refers back to the conformity. Just open yourself up to new ways of thinking and looking at things. Creative people live longer. I hope that's true. Creative people are more likely to be dishonest. Really? Maybe it's because creative people can tell lies better. I don't know. I find that sometimes I can. I don't think I want to be dishonest, but I can find the truth in something that might not be totally true. It's kind of true. So I'm not really dishonest. A lot of times when you're dealing with a client, you can't just come out and go, that's awful. It's terrible. So you have to figure out ways to kind of say the same thing in more humane, compassionate terms. Creative types are more likely to have psychopathic tendencies. Maybe. Night owls tend to be more creative. I think that's true. I'm not so much a night owl now, but I used to be. And I think it's just because of the quietness, it's just you. Creativity is more likely to peak during the off hours, which we just talked about. Creative achievers are likely to have unfocused attention spans. Yeah, probably. Creative people are more likely to be situationists. I'm assuming that means depending on the situation, how you respond to things. And that's true. Like, here's what I always thought was interesting. Like, I couldn't have a job building houses. I've done that. I have built houses. My grandfather was an architect. My grandfather built houses. I used to do a little bit of work for my grandfather, and I just thought, oh, how boring. And this is not a judgment. I'm glad there are people to build houses. And we had our house remodeled a few years ago. And just, that's what they do all day long is they build. They problem solve. It's a creative job. It's a craft job. It's an art job. I just couldn't do it. However, I could have a job building houses for theater, like on stage. Fake houses. I could do that. It just depends on the situation. Positivity enhances creativity, probably. Angry creatives burn out quickly. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I know a lot of angry creatives who've gone on, and maybe they're just angry in their persona. Yeah. Sometimes anger makes better songs or better art. So, I don't know. Creative people may be more likely to suffer from psychiatric disorders. We said that. Creative people are more likely to suffer from bipolar disorder. Interesting. I always think creative people are more likely to suffer from depression. That was the first time I'd ever heard of depression. It was called artistic depression. I was like, oh, I have that. Just every once in a while, you just, for no reason, you just feel depressed because, I don't know if it's because you're not doing anything creative or you don't like what you're doing that's creative. Kind of artistic depression. Creative people more likely to commit suicide. I think we know that. Creative people may actually be hindered by psychosis or other forms of mental illness. We just said that. I don't know why they're repeating. Creative individuals tend to be independent and aspirational. Probably, yeah. I think I'm kind of an independent person. Creative thinkers can be inhibited by group brainstorming. I don't know that's true. I've been in group brainstorming sessions and I love it. I think selfish creatives could be inhibited. Theater is a collaborative art, and that was sort of my art form for a long time. And you have to get together with people and listen to everybody's stuff, and you can debate it. You could say, I don't like that one, I like that one, and everybody kind of fights it out, and then you come up with a piece that's magical and creative, and it's a little piece of everybody. Creative people are often intuitive feeling types on the Myers-Briggs tests. I saw a show with that's all bunk, Myers-Briggs. I hate that because I loved it. I'm an INFP, and it said it's all crap. Stress is bad for creativity. Boy, that's true. I find that when I get stressed, I tend to clean house. That's what I'll do. That's not really creative, but and I'll talk about why I think that happens. But that's what I'll do. It's sort of like soul cleaning, isn't it? Like what's happening inside of you. Enhanced creative ability can be achieved through multiple social identities. That just sounds kind of psychotic itself. A diverse social network enhances creativity. I'm finding that any kind of social media steals my creativity. The more I limit that, the more creative I am. Creativity is made up of many cognitive characteristics. Okay, memory plays an important role in creative thought. I need some explanation on that. I don't know that I believe that. Intelligence significantly influences creative thought. I don't believe that either. Many creative thinkers are dyslexic. I know that. I've never been diagnosed as dyslexic, but I know I have some form of dyslexia. Throughout school, I saw letters jumping around. I looked at a word and I couldn't figure out what it said, and then I would look back and then I could read it. Or I looked at a word and it said something, and then when I looked back, it was a completely different word. It was like magic. It blew me away. I would look at a word and letters would just kind of jump back and forth, And that's dyslexia. And I've had that my whole life. I still have a certain amount of it today, and especially with numbers. I can read a number, look at a number, and read it. Like I went to the bank, and he said, put your account number right here. And I looked at my account number, and I wrote down my account number as I saw it, and I gave it to him. He said, are you sure this is your number? I looked again, and I didn't put a number down. So I put a number down, gave it back to him. He said, it's still not showing up. Took it again. There was another number I didn't put down. And I looked at it carefully. Some kind of weird thing with numbers. Weaker social ties are better for creativity. Okay. I think I have that. Being lonely at work hinders creativity. I don't really. Okay. Creative thinkers are often neurotic. Really? Oh, okay. Yeah. Creative jobs create stress. I don't even know why that's on here. Love, specifically long-term relationship, boosts creative thinking. Maybe. I've been in some long-term relationships before in my life. I don't know that I noticed any kind of boost in my creative thinking, though. I don't know why that would even be. Openness to new experience is a common personality trait in creative types. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay. I don't think all creatives are open to new experiences. I kind of like old experiences, actually. The personality traits of originality are similar to those of creativity. Originality and creativity, that's kind of the same word, right? I think so. Creative people get messy. If you don't believe it, come look at my studio right now. It's a great example of what that means. Creative people tend to be eccentric, and I think that's true. Sometimes I think the eccentricity comes because you're trying to boost creativity. So sometimes people just think they're weird, but sometimes just being weird, you're not really trying to be weird for the sake of being weird. You're being weird in order to have kind of going back to that thing of doing things different. It makes creativity happen, just being different. So a lot of times that comes off as being eccentric, and sometimes it is. It's why you have creative people living in old weird houses and have a lot of strange things in their houses. That's what that's about. Creativity seems to be on the decline. Nah, I don't think so. I just think there's so many other things that are sort of, I mean, look, AI, artificial intelligence that are the whole big trend now. You send your photo in and it'll show you 9 different paintings of your photo. You didn't have to go to an artist. A machine did that. So it's not so much that the creativity is on the decline. It's just there's so many other things stealing what is, it's not really creative, I guess. But there's so many other things doing what it used to take a creative person to do. Everyday creative activity is crucial for creative behavior. That's kind of true. Do things creative every day. Sarcasm increases creative thinking. Oh, yeah, sure it does. Yeah. Religious fundamentalists seem to be less likely to be creative. I don't know that that's true. I could see how that's true. Actually, I would say that any kind of fundamentalism, not just religious, anything when you're locked into the way it always has been, we don't want to come out of that. That automatically limits your creativity. So I don't know that I would say religious fundamentalists seem to be less likely to be creative. I mean, there are some fundamentalists who write books and do poetry and paint. So, maybe. I don't know. I think everybody's got a little bit of creative instinct in themselves. Boredom can assist creative thought. That's true. Males and females tend to have different creative strong points. Okay. I might agree with that. Creative people are often perceived to be poor leaders. I don't know that that's true. I will say I'm a very poor business person as a creative person. But I think somebody like Steve Jobs, who I think was a creative person in business, being a creative person doesn't automatically eliminate you from business. Just me. Being disagreeable might gain creative thinkers more ground. No, I don't agree with that. Exercise enhances creativity, so they say. People who suffer from nightmares are more creative. Maybe. Just dreamers, possibly. And it says people who dream a lot are more likely to be creative. Creative people are attracted to spaces conducive to creative activity. Can't spit it out. So I guess studios or areas that just inspire you. I will always go to an art gallery when I want to be inspired. That's one of the reasons I started my art gallery. That feeling of inspiration when you walk out and it's like, I got to go do some art. I wanted to make that feeling happen to other people too. So I do think that that's true. And then finally, sympathy is beneficial to creativity. Maybe. Sympathy. Okay. It says that. I'll trust it. So what about you? Are you a creative person? Do you use creativity in your job on a daily basis? Can you? Can you find ways to bring creativity in? I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you how I do it. I'm going to tell you what I do to bring more creativity into my life. It doesn't always work. You know, creativity is it's kind of its own monster, its own beast. It's got a mind of its own and not a mind of its own. I'll explain. All right. So my technique, and this is proven with most people who deal with creativity, is that the more you can separate yourself from your human mind, the more creative you can be. Right? So look at it this way. Your mind is uncreative. It is not a creative entity. The mind is essentially a tape recorder, a video recorder. So the mind doesn't do anything but just kind of vomit up what it has already experienced or what it has already been told. So the ideas that come out of your mind are rehashed. And a lot of times it's based on experience, and those are good. We evolved a mind to help us in our survival skills. So back, when caveman would go into a cave and a bear would eat caveman, and the next cave person went into the cave and bear was in there, but that person got out. The mind said, don't go in that cave. And not only that, but maybe you should check every cave before you go in. And because of that, it helped our survival, but it also limited our creativity, because the mind will tell you, you don't draw a sun that way. You don't make a tree look like that. That doesn't look like a human being. And most of those critiques are left over from elementary school, when you were so proud of this picture you drew and someone came along and said, that's not what a human looks like. You don't have 3 eyes when you're a human. You need to do it different. And then our little mind says, well, I'm not good at that. So I'm never going to draw again. So our creativity is limited, but that is completely from the mind. The mind becomes like a little gate. It keeps us from being creative. So that's where meditation comes in. I'm not going to go into meditation here on this show. Maybe someday we'll talk about that. But the whole process and the technique of meditation is learning how to not associate with the mind or identify with the mind. You can't shut the mind off. You can't just say, quit thinking, mind, because when you're saying quit thinking, mind, that's actually your mind saying it. So there's just no way you can do that. You can gradually develop techniques where you can cease the mind or allow the mind to cease. And it takes a while. It takes some practice. It's easy to start the practice. It's not a very difficult thing to begin, but it just takes a while before it actually can happen. But that's the main thing, is to get to a point where you and your mind are not hardwired together. And you can do that in several different ways. But just cultivating an inner silence is the first thing. And I know that's a difficult thing to do. But my technique when I need ideas, I would always imagine that within myself, within my being, there's like a well. Like a well that you can go in and draw out ideas. And not only that, but you find out that you can't really draw them out. You just have to stand there and wait for them to come out. It's something that happens on its own. So true ideas, which we've all had at some point where we go, I don't even know where that idea came from. It's like an inspired idea. It's like it just popped in my head. It's wonderful. It solved this whole problem. That's creativity. It's not your mind. Your mind's basically going to repeat things. And a lot of times your mind will repeat something and it will take the form of creativity. It'll seem like it's creative, but it's really just doing the same thing. There's nothing really wrong with it as long as it works, but it's not true creativity. And a lot of times you'll see that in music, I guess, pop music. It seems like a totally different song, but it's really just sort of rehashing tons of other songs. There's no inspiration in there. No one spent time in the silence waiting for ideas to spring forward, spring out. So how do you do that? How do you get to that point? What are the techniques to do that? Well, meditation is one of them. If you don't want to get into meditation, that's fine. Meditation, you can meditate for hours. There are monks who meditate all day long, 8 hours a day. Who's got time for that? Unless you are a monk. If you're interested in meditation as a creative method or to inspire creativity, I would say look into it. Find some books on meditation. Be careful. There's meditation for religion or kind of religious meditation. And you could find some things that might help you there. But for the most part, that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for non-religious meditation, something that's going to open you up to creativity. But one of the things that's very useful that you can do, and I used to do this on a regular basis, I used to have a watch that would beep on the hour. Just 2 beeps. Deep, deep. My watch won't do that now, and I'm sure they still make those that have that little hourly alarm. And every time that alarm would go off, I would spend 10 seconds. That's all it is, 10 seconds in silence. And you can usually catch silence for 10 seconds, sometimes 5, but 10 seconds, and before your mind will start back in, like, oh, I got to go shopping today, or I forgot to do that, or I got to get gas, or my tire fixed, or whatever. But 10 seconds, you could usually catch some silence. And every time the watch would beep, beep, I would just 10 seconds silence. As soon as the mind starts, back on to doing whatever I do. And do that every day. And man, you won't believe how that will change your life. 10 seconds a day, you would think, no, that's not enough. It is. It totally is. And then if you have some extra time, you can do it for a minute. Do it for 2 minutes if you want. A lot of us can't get past that far without the mind coming in, but that's okay. And that silence, eventually, it starts becoming more of a part of you. You notice it more all the time. You're standing in line at the grocery store with nothing to do. What do? Oh, I'll just spend a little bit of time in silence. And gradually, you will find that little well starts popping out ideas more. It's not anything you can control. That's the thing about creativity. Most creatives are frustrated and psychotic because they can't control what they do. If it's your job and you need to create something for a client, you have 2 choices: sit around and wait for the creativity to pop up and make it, or you're just going to have to rely on the mind and do something that you've always done, and it's not going to be as inspired. This is why when you take a shower, you get a lot of your best ideas. Or when you're mowing the grass, it's because your mind is shut off. You don't have to think about it. You've done this a million times. You've had a shower a day, every day of your life, pretty much. You don't have to sit there and think, grab the soap, wash here, wash there, do that, whatever. You don't have to do all that. Your mind doesn't need to even be there. And because your mind is not there, those ideas will start popping out. That's your well, if you want to call it that. But that's that silence. And I'll call it a well, call it a silence, whatever you want, that where the ideas start coming out. And the more that you can teach yourself to cultivate that silence, to not identify with thinking and your mind, even in very, very, very small pieces, you will find you will become more creative. It's just a byproduct of being a human being. It's going to happen. And at first you may think, oh, I don't feel anything. But then one day you'll be doing something and you'll need to solve a problem and boom, it'll be there. And you'll be like, wow, where did that come from? And it came from you because you've been cultivating that silence. So that's my technique, giving it to you for free. You don't have to join anything. You don't have to, it's all something we share with each other. All right, I'm going to close down. One thing you can do, call the listener line, 678-348-0008. Tell me what you do to be creative. And do you use creativity at all? And can you use what I just said? You might think it's crap. If it's crap, tell me. I don't think it's crap. It has worked for me, and it's worked for me for years. One of the best feelings is just to go to that space inside you, the well, and you need something, and you just go there and wait, and it comes there. It just comes to you, and you're like, yeah, I knew that would happen, and here it is. It's great. It's very frustrating when it doesn't happen, though. But that's the way creativity is. So let me know. And just let me know how you're doing this year. Rick@apocalyptic.com is my email. You can send an email there, or just go to Facebook. Drop me an instant message. It's right on the wall. I don't care. It's all for you. I like hearing from you. I know some of you are listening. Not everybody's listening. It's a new podcast. It's a new year. But hopefully this year, we're going to get a lot more people. More people are going to discover this podcast and join up. We're going to be huge. No, I don't want to be huge. But I like you guys hanging out with me. That's a lot of fun. And Monday and Thursday, right? Yeah. Monday and Thursday is when we're here. And you should be here too. So I will talk to you Monday. Yeah. Make sure you find a hot tub somewhere. Don't be disappointed.